come along on the best vacation that we have ever taken. This was our first overseas trip as a family, and we were so excited. We started off our morning very early in Rapid City, South Dakota, where we took a quick flight over to Minneapolis, Minnesota. From there, we took a flight down to Atlanta, Georgia, and that's where we stopped at one of the best airport lounges that we have ever been to. It was the Centurion Lounge in the Atlanta airport. Then from there, we hopped our long flight from Atlanta all the way over to Munich, Germany. I think all in all, it was about 20 hours of travel. We made it to Germany.
And it's storming soon.
And it's about to storm. We're trying to get out of the hotel so we don't fall asleep. And we kind of fight this jet lag.
And get some coffee.
We're trying to go find coffee. There's a big old storm rolling in. We finished our day with my first affogato of the trip and a really yummy pizza. For our first full day in Germany, we didn't want to plan anything too big because we knew that we would be fighting some jet lag for sure. So we just kind of spent the day kind of roaming around the town and finding some fun things to do. We also did a really big first here in Germany for our daughter. Eat a McDonald's in America, but we thought we would try it out here in Germany. They have a little better standards here on their food, and someone has been dying to try it. So anyways, here's our experience. We'll see if it's different or the same, although we haven't had it in, I don't know, probably at least a decade.
I haven't ever, I've never had it.
So we're gonna try it out. After lunch, we drove around Garmisch, Partnach, and we came across the Olympic Stadium from the 1936 Olympics. Something cool about this area is that there are mountains everywhere and gondolas to take you to the top. So of course, we headed to the top to check it out. We finished off the day by finding some really yummy, authentic food and just soaking in this beautiful town. Guten Morgen. We are on our way to a castle this morning. Today is castle day. We just got into Austria, Österreich, and Kyle is working on figuring out how to put the vignette onto the rental car. So when you go into a different country, over here in Europe, you have to stop and get a vignette for that country. And if you don't, you get a big ticket. So anyway, so we stopped here just after we crossed into Austria, which we were a little bit nervous because we were like, we're crossing into Austria without our little tag. But anyways, so we're all good to go. And we're just driving through these beautiful mountains. Anyways, we're a little bit late, so he's cracking the whip and I gotta go. All right, okay, bye. Castle Day is one of the days I looked forward to the most when planning this trip. The Neuschwanstein Castle is one of the most famous and beautiful castles in all of Europe. Unfortunately, you have to book your tickets well in advance to get the English-speaking tour, and we couldn't really predict what the weather was going to do. Wow, it has been a morning. We got up super early. We drove through part of Austria, like I said, and then we dipped back into Germany, got to the castle here. We're gonna go see another castle. And we get out, we get here, it is pouring down rain. So we're trying to figure out how to get to the top. We take this super fun carriage ride up to the top, covered so we aren't getting soaking wet. We get out, I fall, right? Make it to the castle just in time for our tour, and then we're just like, But anyways, it was amazing. But it's been a morning.
And bees keep on terrorizing her.
Bees keep on terrorizing us. So anyways, trying to not get any more sick. But yeah, we're going to go make our way to the other castle now. We learned a lot about the castle and about King Ludwig, his interesting life, and his very mysterious death. Then we took this really cool trail that was full of amazing views of the castles and the countryside, and we finished up our day at Hohenschwangau Castle. This day started with a really long drive to Hitler's Eagle's Nest and a pretty interesting event. I actually got pulled over by the German police. It ended up just being for a random check, but it was still really scary. Once we got there, this was such an interesting place. You walk into the middle of the mountain, you take a golden elevator up to the top where Hitler had this whole space to host people. Right now, they've turned it into a restaurant and a museum. On a great day, you can also see views of a bunch of different countries. Unfortunately, our day was filled once again with clouds and rain, but we got to finish it off with some really cool history at the museum down below that actually ended up having a secret bunker that Hitler built. After so many days of rain, we woke up and it was finally sunny. It was a gorgeous day, so we decided to get outdoors. We found this really awesome hike that we wanted to take, and it was called Partnach Gorge. And this is one of the most epic hikes in the whole Bavarian region, and one of the most interesting hikes that we have ever been on. And we've been on a lot of hikes. You enter into this and you're literally walking along this roaring river, and you're walking in and through and underneath these really, really cool rocks. And then all of a sudden you walk out and the sun starts shining through and you get to see these beautiful waterfalls. It was so neat. Then we finished up our day in this really cute little Bavarian town where we grabbed lunch, and then we made it back just in time for a beautiful sunset. Good morning. Okay, so today we are headed off to Munich. We're gonna go and check out the city there. We flew into Munich, but we really kind of just flew in super jet lagged. And Kyle drove the rental car, and Ella and I slept pretty much the whole way to Garmisch. So today we're gonna head back to Munich and check out the city. We're also gonna go see a concentration camp, which, you know, will just be super educational for all of us to see, and then especially for Ella with her homeschool stuff. So it should be a really good day. We're excited to go check out the city again, so stay tuned. As soon as you walk into this concentration camp, it changes you. The huge iron gate has the phrase, "Work sets you free." And that was one of the most heartbreaking things that you could see to start off your day. It was just one of the hardest things to walk through, but one of the most important things to see. We saw the ovens, we saw gas chambers, we saw where people lived and the conditions that they lived in and the torture that they were put through. We saw the memorial sites where the ashes of thousands of people still remain. And this is something that was so important for us to see and feel all of the emotions that came with this part of the day. But then we were able to switch gears and get to explore a little bit more of Munich, which was a great contrast to that really, really difficult part of the day. We got to see the famous Glockenspiel, which is this really neat clock in the middle of Munich. Then we stumbled across the cutest outdoor market that we had ever seen that had the hugest wheel of cheese in the entire world. We finished off the day at the Hofra House for giant pretzels and super yummy food. This morning we are taking these cable cars up the mountain to a spa and breakfast on top of the mountain. It's gonna be so fun. All right, so this was all digital. We bought our tickets at the machine, and then you come in here and you press start, and now it takes you up the mountain. When we got to the top of the mountain, we were greeted with the most amazing breakfast we have ever eaten, along with the most amazing views. This turned out to be one of my most unexpected favorite days in Germany. We were originally planning to try to pop over to Switzerland for a quick overnight trip, but right before we left for Germany, I caught a horrible cold. So we ended up taking it a little bit easier, and we found this spa last minute instead. And this was such a beautiful, peaceful experience. But one thing that we didn't quite realize when we first booked this little excursion was that in Europe, everyone goes to the spa nude. So here I am taking my family up to this beautiful spa where everyone is nude. Thank goodness we noticed before our daughter did, and we were able to shield her from that experience. One other really neat thing that they offered were different packages of preventative checkups at this spa, and I thought that was such a neat thing and something that I would love to see come to here in America as well. So we finished up our experience at these beautiful pools with the most amazing views you could ask for. So this morning, Kyle and Ella are paragliding off of this mountain. Oh my goodness, they are so brave. I'm gonna try to take a few videos. I don't know exactly which one there are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 up in the air right now. So it is so cool. Now, next adventure today, we are taking a gondola, I think that's what it's called, up to the top of Zugspitze, somewhere right in here, the tallest peak in Germany. Believe it or not, our excursion to the top of Zugspitze was one of the most expensive excursions we took on this entire trip. So when you get there, they pack you into these cable cars. You are shoulder to shoulder, just getting real friendly with your neighbor. And then you take off towards the top of the tallest peak, I believe in Germany. And when you hit that middle divider, you really start swinging. So it definitely made me nervous, but this had some of the most amazing views. And the further you get towards the mountain, the steeper you get until you get almost to the top, and you are going almost straight up and down. It is amazing the amount of work that must have gone into building this system. Taking a gondola up here reminded me how absolutely terrified I am of heights. Like, it was so hard. I was like, hold it together. And like, it's safe, but we're literally like taking this gondola like straight up, like a cliff. Yeah. It's terrifying. The views up here went on for miles. A couple of really cool things about the top of Zugspitze is that it actually shares a border with multiple countries. So we were able to cross into Austria while at the top of this mountain. Another really cool thing they had up there was this wall of locks, and you were able to actually purchase a lock, write something on it, and clip it to the wall. So right now I think and I hope our lock is still sitting up there. We'll definitely check whenever we get to go back. We also grabbed a few postcards to mail off to some friends. We had an amazing lunch with the best view on earth, and then headed back down to let our daughter swim in Lake Eibsee. By the time we got back, my husband was definitely ready for a nap. We finished off our day by renting some really neat electric bikes from our resort, which I'm not sure if I mentioned it yet, but we stayed at the military resort that is there in Garmisch, Partnach Gorge, and that was such a neat experience. So we rented these e-bikes and we took off on one of the most beautiful bike rides I have ever been on. We found a waterfall and even a geocache. This trip just flew by, and here we are in our last full day in Germany. We decided to head back to Oberammergau, which was about, I believe, 45 minutes from Garmisch-Partenkirchen, and we decided to check out the Linderhof Palace. So this is another palace that was built by King Ludwig, and it was modeled after Versailles. And this was the only palace, I believe, that he actually built and was able to live in before his death. He died at a very young age. We couldn't resist heading up the mountain one more time before we left this beautiful country. We took this very long chairlift up to the top of the mountain where there was an awesome little cafe as well as this really fun mountain coaster that we rode very fast down the mountain and found our last yummy meal. A quick piece of advice is give yourself more than 3 hours when leaving a foreign country. We actually barely made it to our plane. We all grabbed some much needed rest on the flight home, but I couldn't help but already start dreaming up our next trip. Oh, there's a bee in my hair. Okay, bee's out. I'm alive.